that same Steve. He's still that. But now you're also seeing another side of him that he never had to show.
Interesting things, and I think about this all the time, is from the time Bernie passed till now, certainly I think society has changed, the way they digest entertainment has changed. So I think it would have been difficult. I think a lot of people would have had a hard time with some of the things.
Telling people you work with, I don't want you even to be next to me. Like, I have such disdain for you that I'm annoyed by your...
Steve Harvey has always appeared to be the definition of success: sharp suits, a flawless smile, and that undeniable confidence that turned him into a TV legend. From Family Feud and The Steve Harvey Show to hosting Miss Universe and delivering viral motivational speeches, he crafted an image that felt untouchable. But today, the same comedy world that once lifted him to fame is starting to pull him down. And what fellow comedians are now exposing could completely change how people see him forever.
This TV talk show. Okay, this was the one he had on NBC just recently.
Whatever, yeah. That's the one that damn. Who took his show from him?
Kelly Clarkson.
How can Kelly Clarkson?
Beneath the humor and the motivational speeches, a growing belief suggests that Steve's rise to fame might not be as spotless as it appears. Some claim he built his empire on borrowed jokes, broken friendships, and questionable moves that left a trail of resentment across the comedy world. Let's rewind the clock.
By the way, this is the same guy who rails against people who don't believe in his particular voodoo.
Right? Against gay people.
Against gay people, against AIDS.
Steve Harvey rose to fame during the golden age of comedy in the late 80s and 90s, a time packed with raw, undeniable talent. Legends like Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, Monique, and later, Cat Williams dominated the scene. These comedians shared a deep respect for each other's grind because they all knew the struggle, the sleepless nights, the low-paying gigs, and that relentless hunger to make people laugh.
I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt I was?
Steve, my thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my material.
But according to several of those same comedians, Steve Harvey didn't always play fair. Mark Curry, yes, the star of Hagen with Mr. Cooper, claimed that Steve didn't just draw inspiration from others, he outright used their jokes and personal stories. Mark said Steve took one of his most personal routines, a Halloween story from his own childhood, and performed it word for word on TV without giving any credit. In comedy, that's the ultimate violation. You don't steal material, it's like taking someone's voice and claiming it as your own. And Mark wasn't the only one calling him out.
That about the first wife. You forget that? You told us it was her, then you went and married somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about? They think they can rewrite him.
Over the years, whispers began to circulate throughout the industry, comedians quietly suggesting that parts of Steve's act were built on borrowed material. And when the same story starts echoing from multiple voices, people begin to listen. Even Bernie Mac, the people's king of comedy himself, was said to have had his own issues with Steve.
That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey was never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories. Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am.
Bernie once said that when he got a major role in Ocean's 11, Steve tried to convince the producers that he would be a better fit. Imagine your friend and fellow king of comedy trying to take your Hollywood shot behind your back. That's not just competition, that's betrayal. Cat Williams also went in hard on Steve. In one of his famous interviews, Cat said Steve wasn't the king of comedy, he was the king of stealing jokes. He even clowned him, saying Hollywood had never made room for a country bumpkin who looked like Mr. Potato Head.
Bernie once revealed that after landing a major role in Ocean's 11, Steve tried to convince the producers that he would be a better fit. Imagine that your friend and fellow king of comedy trying to snatch your Hollywood moment behind your back. That's not just competition, that's betrayal. Cat Williams didn't hold back either. In one of his most talked about interviews, he flat out said Steve wasn't the king of comedy, he was the king of stealing jokes. Cat even roasted him, saying Hollywood had never made room for a country bumpkin who looked like Mr. Potato Head.
We'll call each other because we feel for each other, because we know the real person.
Right, yeah.
I know they lying about you online. I know that podcast is bullshit. Hanging that dog, don't pay no attention to that.
Yeah.
Because, and look, man, just because you can talk smooth without saying it don't mean you ain't lying.
Right.
I be sitting up here looking at these podcasts of these other comedians that's going on talking about other comedians. Hold up, dog. Where did that shit come from? When did we become that? When did we get into tear each other down business? Because you ain't never heard me say not a disparaging remark against another comedian nowhere. You ain't heard him, or him. Because we ain't cut from that cloth.
Right.
So what is your motive for doing this here?
Harsh words, but beneath the jokes, Kat's message carried real weight. He was calling out what he saw as fake energy, claiming that Steve's southern charm and humble backstory were all part of an act. And that wasn't—
We had the Steve Harvey show, so we had a national TV show. Bernie Mac was the it comedian at the time, and then DL was hot. He had a TV. But the first year we did it, it was just me, Bernie, and Steve.
Right.
And Steve closed.
You did the first part, and the second part.
I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributor.
You could see the pain on Monique's face to her. Steve wasn't just another celebrity. He was a brother in comedy, someone she believed stood for truth and loyalty. But right there on live television, he showed his loyalty lay elsewhere with power and reputation. That moment went viral because it revealed two sides of Hollywood, Monique fighting for principles and Steve defending the system. From that point on, fans started connecting the dots. It wasn't the first time Steve had been accused of putting his image above his peers. Even D.L. Hughley, one of his closest friends from the Kings of Comedy era, once said something that made people stop and think, "Steve knows how to survive in every room." That might sound like a compliment at first, but D.L. wasn't smiling when he said it. What he meant was that Steve knows how to switch up depending on who is around. He's humble and faith-driven when speaking to the public, but behind the scenes, it's all business and control. That survival instinct no doubt helped him rise, but it also left many feeling like Steve's success came at their expense. Mark Curry even shared a story about confronting Steve face-to-face at a comedy show, accusing him of stealing his material. According to Mark, Steve brushed it off like it was nothing. Then, not long after, he saw that same story performed by Steve on national TV. Imagine watching someone use your personal life story to entertain millions and get paid for it while you're left behind. That kind of betrayal cuts deep, especially in a business built on originality and respect. And yet, Steve's career just kept soaring. From comedy clubs to primetime television, he became the face of success, the family man, the faith preacher, the motivational guru, the best-dressed host on TV. But behind that polished image, whispers in the comedy world grew louder. People started saying the same thing: "Steve don't keep friends, he keeps opportunities." That line, reportedly from someone on his old radio crew, stuck with fans because it felt real. It painted a picture of a man who values connections only while they serve his climb, and once you're no longer useful, you're gone. Maybe that's how he's managed to stay on top for so long. Maybe Steve figured out something most people don't. Hollywood doesn't reward kindness, it rewards power moves. In this business, loyalty takes a backseat to leverage, but that mindset leaves scars. And now, those scars are starting to show. Cat Williams, Mark Curry, Bernie Mac, Monique, all of them, at different times, have hinted that Steve's climb to the top came at a cost. Even Steve himself once admitted in an interview, "I've done things I ain't proud of, but when you're hungry, you eat what's in front of you." Back then, people thought he was speaking metaphorically, but now, it sounds a lot more like a confession. Maybe that's what this whole story really is, not just about comedy, but about what people are willing to sacrifice for fame. Steve Harvey's success is undeniable. But as more comedians begin to speak up, one question keeps getting louder. Did he truly earn it, or did he just play the game better than everyone else? Because in Hollywood, talent gets you noticed, but ruthlessness gets you remembered. Back in the 90s, when the Kings of Comedy tour took over the world, Steve Harvey stood shoulder to shoulder with legends Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley. That tour was supposed to be a celebration of unity, four giants representing the culture, bringing laughter to packed arenas night after night. On stage, it looked like a brotherhood. But off stage, things weren't as clean as they seemed. Bernie Mac, who stole the show every night with his raw energy and fearless humor, later revealed that he didn't fully trust Steve during that time. Rumors spread that Steve tried to undercut Bernie again after he landed the Ocean's 11 role, allegedly calling producers to convince them he'd be a better fit. That wasn't just Hollywood competition. That was betrayal between two brothers who were supposed to have each other's backs. When Bernie passed away in 2008, that tension never had the chance to heal. And fans couldn't help but notice something off about Steve's public tributes. They seemed to center more on himself than Bernie. He often positioned himself as the last king standing, the one carrying the torch. But fans didn't buy it. To this day, many say Bernie was the people's king, while Steve was the TV king. That difference says everything. Bernie earned love through authenticity. Steve earned fame through image clean-cut suits, polished speeches, and a personality built for the mainstream. And then there's Cat Williams, never afraid to speak the truth, no matter who it offends. Cat went after Steve multiple times in interviews, accusing him of copying not just jokes, but entire shows. Cat Williams claimed that the Steve Harvey Show was basically a rip-off of Hagen with Mr. Cooper. Think about it, both shows centered around a sharp-dressed, middle-aged comedian working in a school, mentoring kids, and dropping life lessons along the way. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you line up the details, Cat's theory doesn't sound so far-fetched. And when you add Mark Curry's accusations into the mix that Steve was showing up at his gigs, watching his sets, and later performing the same jokes on stage, it starts to look less like coincidence and more like a pattern. Mark said he even confronted Steve directly, telling him to his face, "You're using my material." But Steve just shrugged it off and kept it moving. That moment said everything. When you have power, people start believing you can do whatever you want and get away with it. Once Steve became a household name, it was like he was untouchable. Who was really going to challenge the man America loved to laugh with? That's what makes this story so wild. It's not about one stolen joke or a single rumor, it's about how the system protects its stars. The same industry that chews up dreamers will protect its favorites, even if it means ignoring the truth. By then, Steve had built himself into the face of family-friendly entertainment, preaching about God, loyalty, marriage, and success. So when these stories started to surface, people didn't want to believe them. They couldn't imagine that the same man giving motivational talks about faith was being accused of stealing jokes and backstabbing peers. But that's the danger of Hollywood, it runs on illusion. Behind the suits and smiles, it's all about power and perception. The better you control your narrative, the harder it is for the truth to stick. Even D.L. Hughley, who's known Steve for decades, started letting small truths slip. In one podcast, he said, "Steve knows how to survive in any room." Simple words, but they carried weight. It meant Steve had mastered the art of code switching, telling everyone exactly what they wanted to hear to stay relevant and protect his position. That kind of adaptability makes you unstoppable in Hollywood, but it also makes people question your integrity. At some point, people start asking, who is the real Steve Harvey? Then there's Monique. Her clash with Steve exposed the power plays happening behind the scenes. After Precious, when she spoke out about being blackballed in Hollywood, Steve didn't stand beside her. Instead, he went on national TV and told her she was wrong, saying plainly, "This ain't the integrity game. This the money game." You could see the hurt in Monique's eyes. She said she loved Steve, but she couldn't understand how a man who preached loyalty and faith could side with the same system that tried to tear her down. That interview went viral for a reason. It stripped away Steve's Mr. Positive image and revealed the businessman underneath, someone who prioritizes the check over the cause. And when people replayed that clip, they saw something deeper. Steve wasn't just disagreeing, he was defending his seat at the table. It was a reminder that in Hollywood, loyalty often ends where opportunity begins. But here's the twist: no matter how many accusations or controversies come his way, Steve Harvey never falls off. His career only grows. He keeps landing bigger shows, more brand deals, and international gigs. He's like Teflon, nothing sticks. From the infamous Miss Universe fiasco, when he announced the wrong winner live on stage, to backlash over his comments about women and relationships, Steve always finds a way to flip the story and bounce back stronger. It's almost like he knows something the rest don't. Maybe Steve mastered what others fear, using controversy as currency. That Miss Universe mistake could have ended anyone else's career, but Steve turned it into a punchline, came back the next year, and hosted again like nothing ever happened. That kind of control doesn't come from luck. It comes from power. Steve's been in the game long enough to know exactly how to protect his image no matter what. And that, in its own way, makes him dangerous. Because when you get used to surviving every storm, you stop caring about how many people you hurt along the way. And now, the people Steve left behind are starting to talk: comedians, co-workers, even staff from his radio days. They describe him as strict, controlling, and cold once the cameras stopped rolling. Behind the smile, they say, was a man who ran his empire like a business, not a brotherhood. People who worked for him claimed they always had to watch what they said, because one wrong move could cost them their job. To them, Steve wasn't a mentor, he was a boss who demanded perfection but gave little back. It's like there are two versions of Steve Harvey: the one the public sees and the one insiders whisper about. And that's what makes his story so fascinating, how a man can build an entire legacy on charm and still leave behind a trail of people feeling used, ignored, or betrayed. Steve once said, "You've got to be willing to do whatever it takes." Maybe that's exactly what he did. But now the question is, how far is too far when the price of success is trust itself? Here's where it all comes full circle. For every joke, every smile, and every success story tied to Steve Harvey's name, there's a line of people who say they paid the price for his rise. And when you start connecting the dots, Steve's career stops looking like a story of triumph and starts looking like a story of survival. He once said, "When you're hungry, you eat what's in front of you." Maybe that was his way of admitting that on his climb to the top, nothing was off limits. He's reinvented himself more than almost anyone in comedy, from stand-up comic to sitcom star, from radio host to TV mogul, from preacher of faith to businessman of fame. Every version of Steve comes with a new layer of polish and a new list of people who feel left behind. But now, those voices are getting louder. Mark Curry's old interviews are resurfacing. Cat Williams keeps exposing him, calling out what others won't. Monique still stands on principle, reminding people of that painful TV moment when Steve told her to play the money game. And the memory of Bernie Mac still lingers, a reminder that the real kings of comedy didn't need Hollywood's approval to earn respect. When fans replay old clips of Bernie talking about loyalty and love for the craft, then see Steve positioning himself as the last king standing, it hits different. People can tell when something's real and when it's rehearsed. That's why this story cuts so deep. It's not just about who told what joke first, it's about who stayed true once fame hit. The truth is, Steve's brand has always been built on image, the man who preaches faith, family, and hard work. But behind closed doors, he's known for cutting off anyone who questions him. Former radio co-workers described working for Steve as walking on eggshells. If you slipped up, you were gone without warning. That kind of reputation doesn't come from one bad day, it comes from years of control and strategy. And yet, no matter how much heat comes his way, Steve keeps shining. He's like the ultimate Hollywood survivor, no scandal too big, no accusation too wild. From the Miss Universe fiasco to his controversial remarks about women and relationships, he's been dragged through it all, yet still shows up on TV, suits sharp, smile wide, speeches trending. That's what makes him such a mystery. How can someone face wave after wave of criticism and come out untouched? Maybe it's not luck. Maybe it's power, real power. The kind that comes from knowing how to move in silence and stay one step ahead of the storm. But as we've seen, no power lasts forever. Karma doesn't care how famous you are, it always circles back. The same way Steve climbed by telling stories, the people who lived those stories are now telling theirs. And each time one of them speaks, another layer of his image begins to crack. It's not hate, it's history catching up. Comedy legends like Bernie Mac, truth-tellers like Cat Williams, and voices like Monique all share one thing in common. They don't lie about what they've seen. And when that many people point to the same man with the same story, it stops sounding like coincidence. Even D.L. Hughley, who has often defended Steve, once said something that hit hard. You can't please everybody, but you can be real with yourself. And that seems to be where Steve struggles most, because it's easy to please Hollywood when you're willing to play by its rules. But the streets? They remember who you were before the lights came on. That's Steve Harvey's biggest conflict, between the man he wants the world to see and the man the comedy world remembers. Still, no one can deny his grind. Steve Harvey is one of the hardest working entertainers alive. He's built an empire on hustle, charisma, and relentless discipline. But every empire has a foundation. And if that foundation is cracked, eventually it crumbles. For years, Steve has preached about prayer, hard work, and chasing success. But now, fans are asking, what if the success story he's preaching isn't the one he lived? What if behind every laugh, there's a lie? What if the real lesson isn't about winning, it's about what you lose trying to get there? Because as more people come forward, it's starting to look like Steve's story isn't just about making it, it's about maintaining power at any cost. And when fame becomes survival, it's easy to lose the soul that got you there in the first place. Maybe that's the real price of being a king of comedy in a business where loyalty means less than ratings. The spotlight might love you for a while, but the truth always finds a way to shine brighter. So now, the question is, did Steve Harvey truly earn his crown, or did he borrow it from those he stepped on along the way? Because whether it's Mark Curry, Cat Williams, Monique, or the ghost of Bernie Mac's legacy, the whispers have become a chorus. The laughter that once built Steve's empire might be fading, replaced by the sound of people finally speaking up. And as the curtain rises on this next chapter, one thing is certain: this isn't the end of Steve Harvey's story. It's the beginning of his reckoning. Fame doesn't erase the past, it only hides it under the lights. And when those lights start to dim, the truth always steps forward. The question isn't if Steve Harvey's karma will come, it's when. Because you can dodge critics, dodge headlines, even dodge controversy, but you can't dodge your reflection once the cameras stop rolling. The same spotlight that made him a star might just be the one that exposes what was hiding all along. So what do you think? Did Steve Harvey climb the ladder fair and square, or did he take shortcuts that left scars behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over. Hollywood might have built his image, but it's the voices from the comedy trenches that are finally ready to tear it down. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this conversation isn't ending anytime soon, and the next chapter might just shake the comedy world to its core.